Good evening, everybody. I'm Mary O'Connor. On behalf of the Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation and the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health here in Anchorage, thank you for joining us on Hangar Flying. We are happy to have Melanie Bladow back on the program. She's going to share some enthusiasm and some excitement about being a new pilot. Melanie, welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
We know that you had some very condensed time for your flight training, and you made it a point to get up several times a week. You had some unplanned weather during one of your flights. What happened?
I did. As many pilots know, in the winter we have a tendency in Anchorage towards ice fog and temperature inversions that are associated with that. And so I think I had 4 days in a row that I couldn't fly. And on my 5th day, finally, it was VFR again, and I could get out. So I took off, and there was a fog bank low over the inlet, but it kind of had been coming in and out for several days. And so I saw it out there as I was flying, and I thought, oh, it's probably okay. And I just went out to the practice area across by Point McKenzie to practice some maneuvers when air traffic control came on the radio and told me that Merrill had just gone IFR. So I knew I had 4 hours of fuel on board. I'd already completed all my cross-country training, so I knew I could, if necessary, fly all the way to Homer or even Fairbanks, I suppose, without a problem. So I decided to wait about a half an hour, and it was suggested that I think about landing at Birchwood, but about 5 minutes later, Birchwood went IFR. So I came up with an alternate plan, which was to land out at Wasilla. And so after about probably an hour of flying and realizing that the weather wasn't going to clear, I went ahead and I landed out in Wasilla. And one of the things I learned was the importance of having an alternate plan. So I'd already discussed that with my instructor, what I would do if Merrill was closed for some reason, what were the other alternate airports I could land at. I'd already done practice landings at International, at Birchwood, at Palmer, and at Wasilla, which were all nearby airports. So I just chose the one closest that I was familiar with and that I knew had a plowed runway, since I had never landed on gravel and I hadn't done my soft field training either. So that's what I did. And I think of all my training, it was probably the day I thought I would do the most work on my maneuvers, but actually got to do the most work on sort of aeronautical decision making and contingency planning and the importance of being flexible while in the air and also safe.
That's great. I think that it's nice to have that while you're still a student pilot and still have some avenues of assistance that you're not ashamed or embarrassed to ask help with. Like air traffic control was very helpful?
Yes, they were. I was really appreciative of how helpful they were. They got me runway conditions. They went to get me runway conditions at Birchwood. They gave me conditions everywhere. They gave me the weather at Wasilla. And while I was struggling with my big paper chart trying to figure out where I was, they gave me vectors to get me right to the airport. So that was really, really helpful, and I really appreciate it. And I just like to say that I found air traffic control to be really helpful in my training and flight services as well, on my cross countries. Both in Kenai and in Homer, and also all the air traffic controllers at Merrill who were very kind and patient while I was learning how to use the radio and the appropriate radio calls and what everything meant. So I just certainly appreciate their work.
Oh, good. So the relative recency that you've gotten your license hasn't allowed you to take a passenger up yet, has it?
It has not. Since I got my license, which was on the 10th, last Monday, in January, I've had weeks of fog and or snow, which is fine because I'm also a skier. So when I can't fly, I can always ski.
And who are you going to take up?
I'm trying to take up my dad. That's who I want to take up first. So we're just organizing schedules and waiting for weather so that I can take him up.
And do you have plans to stay current? Seeing how weather is challenging, time is also a challenge when life gets in the way and people don't get to fly as much as they'd like. What are you going to do to stay current?
So what I'm going to do is I'm looking to buy into either a share of an airplane or a flying club right now. And until then, my plan is to rent about once a week for an hour or so, just to keep my skills fresh. I consider getting my license a big investment of both my time and money. And I think it's worth either, about once a week trying to go out for at least an hour or so and practice maneuvers, landings, all of that. And hopefully take up some of my friends and family with me as well.
Very good. Any advice for new pilots?
I would say two things. One, don't be afraid. It's intimidating at first. There's a lot of jargon. There's a lot of systems that you have to learn. It's really fun. You'll feel really free and you'll really enjoy the challenge. And the second thing I would say to new pilots is I found the aviation community to be very welcoming. So don't be intimidated and reach out. And everyone I talked to who was a pilot and I said I was new was helpful. I had friends who, when they found out, took me flying or offered to take me flying and just spent time talking with me about airplanes and aviation. So I just say there's no reason to be intimidated. So just, get out there and try it.
Well, welcome to the club.
Thank you.
And congratulations very much on your license. I hope you have a lot of years of happy flying.
I think I will.
Thanks, Melanie. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you've enjoyed our show today, and we hope that you may take an interest in learning to fly as well. Until next time, be safe.